got this ball of Malabrigo Rios in the colorway Zarzamora from Tiny Rabbit Hole a few days ago. And I only got one skein because the weather right now is really hot and I can't see myself wearing anything wool in Singapore now. So I decided that I wanted to use it to knit up this summer secret top from Jessie Made Designs. Mostly because I'm still in beginner knitter, so I wanted to work with something simple enough that I can practice some basic techniques. So last night I knitted up my first gauge swatch using 4mm needles. This is what it looks like after washing and blocking. But I'm not able to meet the gauge swatch of 17 by 29 stitches. I got 19 by 24 instead. So I think I'll be adjusting the needle size and re-knitting another gauge swatch to see if the second one works out better. I just knitted up my second gauge swatch using 4.5mm needles. And this is what it's looking like before I wet block it. There's a size reference to my hand. So I'm gonna wet block it now and let's see how much it expands. And this is what it's looking like after I wet block it. It's almost the size of my hand right now. So I'll just leave this to dry overnight and hopefully my gauge swatch works out well. For blocking, I normally just use this Daiso kiddie play mat and some of my glass-headed pins to pin down my wet swatch. Turns out I'm Bobo the Clown and I thought that Malabrigo Rios was a DK weight yarn. It turns out it's worsted, so that's why I couldn't get my gauge swatch to work. I did a second gauge swatch with 4.5mm needles and my swatch was about 19 by 24 stitches. But luckily everything worked out in the end because the gauge swatch actually works for this pattern by Lauren Riker. So I'll be knitting this up instead using 4.5mm needles. And because this is an I-cord strap, this gives me a chance to try out my new Cordsmith. I'm in my PJs, which means it's time for me to start knitting the top. Based off my measurements, I'll be knitting the top in a size small using 4.5mm for the body and 3.75mm needles for the ribbing. And while I'm not knitting up the summer top anymore, I'll be using the same cast on method as recommended by that pattern, which is the old Norwegian style, because I just want to learn a new cast on method and I think it's pretty nice and stretchy. So I'll be casting on 62 stitches before putting on the stitch marker and then continuing to cast on another 62 stitches. Okay, so I just casted on 62 stitches and then I'll add on the stitch marker. And then I'll continue casting on another 62 stitches. So I just finished casting on 62 and 62 stitches for a total of 124 stitches. I'll then be joining this in a round and working a 1 by 1 rib stitch. It's the next day and this is how much I've progressed with my knitting. I was sort of like Bobo the Clown yesterday because I had to redo my cast on so many times. Because I kept messing up my 1 by 1 ribbing, which, like for example, I would like knit 1, purl 2, knit 1, purl 1, and I have to like rip the entire thing apart because I didn't want the tension for the cast on to be like really messed up, because when I tried to fix it by lathering down, then it didn't work, so I just ripped it apart. And so this is how much I knitted so far. It's about 3 hours of work. It's a little bit slow going because the tension is quite high now because of how small this ribbing is. But I'm also trying to be conscious of the quality of my stitches. Because previously when I've done 1 by 1 ribbing, my stitches were quite messy. And I watched this video by Clone Knits who talked about how I should be measuring my stitches with my knitting needles. And I think that that video really helped me out a lot, because I think my 1 by 1 ribbing looks really good right now. But it also helps that my yarn is on the thicker side. And let's continue before I have to go out in about an hour. So this is how much I was able to knit while I was out. And so far I've done about 32 rows, so I want to do about 40 rows to hit 6 inches before I switch over to use the 4.5mm needles for the rest of the shirt. So far I think my ribbing is looking really nice. Again, I've been putting a lot more effort into making sure that the stitches are even. realised that I made a mistake. I knitted 5 extra rows using the 4.5mm needles using rib stitch, but I realised that it's supposed to be in stockinette. So I need to rip down 8 rows and then do the whole thing again, but that's fine. It's day 4 of knitting this top and this is what I have so far. When I realised that I first did the body wrong, I ripped it back to the ribbing. So for the ribbing of the body, there's now 40 rows of stitches, and I'm currently on my second set of increases for my body, and once I'm done with the third, I can move on to binding off the back and then knitting up the bust. I do only have this much yarn left, so I'm hoping that this will be enough for the rest of the project, but if not, I will have to rip things down again. I'm on my last round of increases, and I just want to share something that I learned, I think, on Reddit. I don't exactly remember how to make one right or make one left, but what I remember is to just check which direction this part of the stitch is facing. So if I want to make one right, this will be facing right, and if I want to make one left, this will be facing left. I mean, I don't know if it's helpful for anybody, but it's just something that helps me remember. Now that I'm finished with my increase rounds, I'm just going to bind off. The pattern says to bind off with a firm tension, so I'm going to try doing that with just a normal bind off. First, we got to knit 4. Then knit to the end. I got too excited and I finished up the left cup. And I only have this much yarn remaining. I'm really hoping this will be enough. I think it might be. So basically, after splitting the back, we do a few more rows of the bust before splitting it in half. So this is 34 stitches for the small size. And then we do decreases at the armhole and the neckline at every right side before purling. And at every purl row, there's a decrease at the neckline as well. So there's a steeper decrease at the neckline compared to the armhole. And I decreased to there's only 3 stitches left at the top because I want to do a 3-stranded I-cord instead of a 6-stranded one that's recommended in the pattern. And now I'm going to work on the right cup, and I'm going to be using the center pull from the yarn ball that I wound up. And whatever that remains, I'm just going to be using up for the straps. And then we do the same with the knit 1 SSK combination followed by a knit 2 together at the armhole. I got my hands on this new Cordsmith that I've been seeing around on social media. It's a device that helps to make I-cord, specifically a 3-stranded I-cord, which is why I ended my straps with 3 stitches. My yarn was super tangled from working at it from both ends, so I managed to wind it onto a toilet roll, and that's helping me a lot. So I watched a couple of tutorials on how to use this Cordsmith, and it seems that the yarn has to start on the right. Like this. Loop the yarn over and pull to work the stitch a little bit first, and then pull back and repeat. I finally worked out the Cordsmith. I was struggling with it for like a little while, but I think the trick is that you just have to pull a lot harder than you think you need. I don't know if it's just me, or if I don't pull hard enough, the loops don't go over the latches as well. But the key points are to make sure that the latches are opened when you first cast on the stitches, and to make sure that the new yarn you're adding is in front of the latches so that when it closes, the loop can go over it. The pattern says to make an 11-inch cord, but because my yarn is superwash merino and I don't really know how much it will stretch out, I'm just gonna make it as long as I can. This top will be a halter top, so I can just make the straps as long as I want and then just weave in the ends later on. I have this much yarn left. It's not much, but I think that'll be enough for a small I-cord so that I can make a ribbon in front of the top. So I'm finally done with the top, so let's try it on. So this is what the top looks like on. I made it in a size S, which is perfect for my 34-inch bust. I'm really happy that I managed to bind off the back just enough so that it's not too tight or not too loose, so that there's no wrinkling or puckering at the back. Because I've seen some people on Ravelry talk about how they bound off too lightly or too loosely, and that caused some issues with the fit for the back. I really love the bow detail that I added with the I-cord, and I'm happy with the thickness of the I-cord as well. The pattern called for a 6-stranded I-cord, but I ended up doing a 3-stranded one, which is more of a typical I-cord because I wanted to try out the Cordsmith that I bought. And the colour is so gorgeous. I love Malabrigo yarn, so I'm really happy to have bought it from Singapore because not a lot of places sell it here. And I think the colour of the yarn is so pretty. I really love the purple and greens in it. Because I'm a warm tone girly and I like very more warmer tones, so this purple and green combination suits my skin really well as well. Hi, I'm back. I wore this out for a few hours and here are some of my thoughts of the top that I made. From the front, it's looking really good. I love the rounded neckline. I saw some pictures on Ravelry where some tops ended up being like a V-neck, but I'm really happy that I ended up with a rounded neckline instead because I much prefer a rounded neckline on me. The hem is folding over a little bit at the front of the top, which I don't really mind. I prefer if the hem is straight down, but I think because I slouch a lot, it ends up folding over on itself. But the main problem lies with the back. Even though I did bind off the back tightly, I guess it wasn't tight enough because there's a lot of sagging at the bottom. But I understand that this top is not meant to be a halter top. The straps are meant to be attached at the back of the shirt. Other than that, the Malabrigo Rios Yarn ended up being not too warm for Singapore's weather. It's been really hot and humid lately, so I did sweat a little when I went out, but that's normal for me. I do sweat a little bit when I go outside because it's just so humid. But overall, it wasn't too hot. And I'm really happy for that because I can envision myself wearing this top out really often. And I wouldn't mind making a few more of these tops, especially when I, buy a skein of fancy yarn. Because one skein of Malabrigo Rios was enough to make this top. So now I can justify buying expensive yarn and making this top for myself. So even though I look like a hot mess throughout the entire video, I do hope that you enjoyed watching me knit up this top. And now that I started this YouTube channel, it's given me a lot more excuses to make things for myself. So hopefully you'll stick around more for whatever else I'll be making in the future for myself. And maybe for other people if I'm feeling it. Feel free to subscribe, follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Carol Rolly. And hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Bye!